Chairman, before we start the meeting, I just wanted to make a public notice here that we're going to be live streaming. For those that are in the audience, anything that you say on the live stream, we just want you folks to come up to the microphone so you can be heard. And also just kind of a reminder that public comments are to 5 minutes unless granted special permission by the chairman. But I just wanted to mention that. So we do have a copy of the live streaming policy on the communications page, which is located on the Winnebago Tribe's website. So with that, I'll turn it over to the chairman.
Okay, I call this mid-monthly meeting to order at 5:02 p.m. Say welcome back, Tori. I'm asking you to say a prayer, please.
Okay, thanks. Well, good evening, everyone. Hello, it's really good to see you guys. Really happy to be home and say a prayer for us. Good evening, Heavenly Father. We come to you in a word of prayer, Lord. We're really thankful for this day, a new day, Lord, that you've blessed us with. Lord, we thank you for the many blessings in our community and our families. We just celebrated Thanksgiving, Lord. We gave all thanks and glory to you, Lord. And Lord, we ask for those continued blessings in our everyday life with the children, the mourners, the elders, the veterans, and Lord, all those that are in need of a prayer. Lord, we ask that you extend this blessing in 4 directions as we conduct the business of the tribe and as we continue on with this day and the next day, Lord, in your favor and your continued blessings. Lord, we also ask for forgiveness as we walk each day of our lives and we try to do the best we can, Lord. And Lord, we just ask that you be with us and show us the way and continue to love us as your children. Lord, we ask all these things in your precious Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, we have the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda? If there's no additions, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Move it.
Second.
The motion second. Discussion. Any objections? No objections. Motion passed. 7-0-0. Reading of the minutes. 11/5/18 regular tribal council meeting.
Well, we've had these since 8 o'clock this morning. I don't know what's taking us so long. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting.
Second.
Been motion and second to approve the 11/5/18 regular tribal council minutes. Discussion? Any objections?
We got one comment. As far as the minutes and winter celebration, I think there was a budget for that. I think it was like 27 something. But you know, should, I don't know if we should reflect that in the minutes.
Okay. The winter celebration?
Yeah.
Okay.
On we approved that from Winnebago.
Any other discussion? Any objections?
I'm gonna object to abstain. I was
Oh.
out sick that day.
Call for vote in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No. Abstention? 1. Motion passed 7-0-1. Minutes 11/13/18 monthly Dan meeting.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Been motion and second to approve. Discussion? Any objections?
Object.
Call for vote in favor. 7 yes. No. Abstention?
One abstention.
1. Motion passed 7-0-1. Meeting 11/14/18 CEO report.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Been motion second. Discussion? Any objections?
Object.
Call for vote. Favor? 7. No. 0. Abstention. 1.
Abstention.
Motion passed 7-0-1. Meeting 11/14/18 general council meeting.
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chair.
Been motion second. Discussion? Any objections?
Or object.
Call for vote. Favor? 7 yes. No? 0. Abstain?
Abstain.
1. Motion passed 7-0-1. Ratify 5 signature, Winnebago Slot Department purchase.
Move it, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Been motion and second to ratify Winnebago Slot Department purchase.
Point of order. Kenny, did you, that signature, but approve or disapprove on there?
I didn't check it? Yeah.
Approve?
Yeah, I approved it. I'm sorry. I was just seeing if anybody would catch it.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Any objections? No objections, motion passed 8-0-0. Ratify Winnebago's HR Department team member, thank you.
It's, the 5 signature more or less approved it, but I think there's something in it that we need to take a look at. And that's the amount of disbursement that was paid per person. the top name in particular. It's a large thank you.
I had some comments for that during discussion, so I'd like to move it and then, but I want to have discussion about that too, maybe, well, I'll just wait, but I'll move it,
Is that a motion?
yes.
Been motion, is there a second?
Second.
The motion second, discussion?
Kenny, do you wanna go first?
Pardon?
Did you wanna finish your comment before I made my comment?
No.
Well, I also was really happy to see this come through for the employees. I know they look forward to this every year and work hard for it every year. And I was just, I know when we went through negotiations a couple years ago with executive management, at that time I was against the percentage of the bonus of the salary because I realized it was a substantial amount of money. And as you can see in the spreadsheet, it's a substantial amount of money, and as we're having discussions about cutting back here and there and about, you know, kind of scrutinizing, I shouldn't say scrutinizing, I should say reviewing and discussing other entities and what they perhaps may get, it just seems like none of that kind of review has been looked at over here. But when it's kind of right in your face, it forces you to look at something that we might want to be a little bit more critical about, and or maybe deal with those executive management numbers outside of the regular employee numbers, because it's such a high amount of money. And I'm not saying that without us going through some type of review on performance evaluation, you know, it's just kind of like a given. And like I had said, I had a little problem with when we approved the contract a couple years ago, because the baseline or the standard that was being compared to was the former management company that the tribe kicked out. And so if that's the measure that it was being put against, you know, that really wasn't a good number, you know. And so I just kind of offer that comment because I do appreciate all the work that's happening over there. I just want to make sure that we're aware of what we're approving, and it would have been my preference to have that in an executive session with executive management. But I also wanted to be supportive of what came through, so I signed it and motioned for it today, but maybe it's just something we think about in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Chair. I too wanted to respond, and I would concur with that, or even the council. You know, how do we evaluate our management? You know, when you see the numbers that are down, our revenue is down, how do you give somebody a bonus when things are, you know, way down? A couple of million down. So I have a concern with that. I don't know what the contract reads. I was absent on travel when they approved the modification to the salary. At one time, you know, everything's based upon merit, and the way it works outside anywhere in the real world. And if you're not fulfilling your role, you're down the road. And I believe in rewarding our employees at the same time, our workforce, wherever who works with the tribe, because we've got some good, outstanding people. And so I would too, I don't know what that contract reads. Is it just a given? That percent is just a given, which is very substantial. And I would like to I don't know what our process is, and I don't know what it reads, but I do have concern with that as well because of the cuts and things like that we're enduring here.
Mr. Chair, since we're open for discussion on this, I have concerns in regards to these bonuses as well. On reviewing, you know, the projections, we're looking at a shortfall of 2 million. And then, with that being said, we're also looking at a debt in regards to our hotel over there of 5 million, and the added cost of that Havoc, which was another 1.7, which is a total amount of 6.7 million debt. We have a number of cost estimates that the casino, the structure itself, we call the capital improvements that are needed for this business, this operation. And those are, it's a lengthy list and it's costly. Pressure tank, uniforms for our employees, a PA system, a remodel of the locker rooms, a new ceiling, carpet, and the list goes on. And these are needs, and I think that these needs supersede the wants. I'm for rewarding our employees over there. I want to be clear on that. They should get something, but not at these. What's proposed here? I'm not comfortable with that. We should be looking at making improvements over there instead of giving out these exorbitant, these huge amounts for bonus. And I would like to go back to this issue with this debt. We have all of tribal council here and open that up, because if we look at this debt, we're paying out a high amount of money on the interest a year. Every year on its current rates. It would be good business for us to pay that debt, pay that out clear, and be out of that debt. It would increase the annual cash flow of $113,900 a year. But it would also decrease the portfolio income by $152,600. We count on that money coming over here because it operates. It helps us fund our operation here. Keeps everything moving for us. So if we did that, Winnebago could replace that shortfall. That would be $12,700 a month to make up that difference, that invested income. So when that money comes over on this side to pay for the operations, we would make that. It wouldn't be at no deficit, no loss to us. It also is a net increase of cash flow of $861,300 a year. So it puts our casino in a position to make the needed improvements that they need. It also gets us out of debt, and we can then look at making the big changes that we need to make that we've all discussed. So I want to throw that out there for all of you to seriously think about. It would be to the benefit of the people and the operation if we were to make these kinds of moves and to take that out of the portfolio. But it takes all 9 of us to agree on that. So it's important that we're very clear on that and we're all in agreement. It puts us in a real good position so that we're better able to help our tribal membership. We want to make all kinds of improvements out there with the water park. We're in a better position if we do that when we're out of this debt. So I want to say that to you guys sitting in this seat. It's real important. And that's what we're faced with. So please think about these things. Give it your careful consideration as we move forward. So thank you for listening to me.
Any further discussion? Any objections to the motion? Call for vote. In favor?
We're still on
The minutes.
the
Ratification.
thank you checks.
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make that clear. Just a motion to approve, to ratify.
This,
I think we need to discuss the amounts.
it should be, that
Well,
should be an
I'll
motion.
withdraw my motion if somebody wants to.
Can we table this?
Alright, I withdraw my motion.
Table till
Do
Thursday.
you guys want to discuss this and go into this on a treasurer's report so that we can get this done before the holidays get here?
I don't wanna hold up. I think in
What?
the next check, it'll be paid out 12/11 payroll, so it hasn't been paid out quite yet. So I'll withdraw my motion for further discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Second, withdraw.
So she withdrew her motion.
The second too,
You seconded, did you, Ken?
okay.
Withdraw your second? Yeah. Okay. Motion second withdrawn. Entertain motion to, bring this back to the table at, Treasurer's report. Is there a
Move it.
vote? Okay.
Second.
And motion second. Any discussion? Any objections? No objections, motion passed, 8-0-0. Discuss this at Treasurer's report. Number 3, construction management, recommended contract approval. A&D contracting and remodeling.
Moves to
Again, I know that's been approved by 5 signature, but there's a lot of concern on how far we go with this.
motion to approve or ratify construction management contract approval for A&D contracting, remodeling and flooring of Luna House. $5,050.
A second.
Been motion second to ratify, construction management recommended contract approval. Discussion? Any objections?
I just have a question. Did Ron make a recommendation? Is that how one came forward, or
Yeah, he had the
How-
bids in there.
how did we go about, I guess, how was the 5 signature brought forward? Was it through a,
Yeah, he had the bids in there on his, recommendations.
so the council didn't have a role in
We just,
what
I
came?
sent an email back to him and went ahead with it. I was supportive of his recommendation. I don't know if anybody else responded, but I know he came in and talked to several of the council members.
I was just wondering, I guess who bid and if Mel was still being prevented from bidding on jobs.
Oh, he had that backup. It was in the email that went out when he was asking for, input from the council.
You told Ron to go ahead with it?
I said I supported his recommendation.
Oh, and from that, he went ahead with it.
Well, he talked to some of the other council members too.
I didn't, nobody talked to me about it.
I've seen the 3 bids that came in for it though.
Were they good bids?
Yeah.
Okay. I just am curious and always like to support our local contractors, and so I just wanted to know, since we only have one in the packet, I guess I was just wondering how that came to be. I'm just curious.
Mhm.
But it's not normal practice for him to bring these contracts in and give them.
Usually not. That's what I mean. It happens
Yeah.
within his scope of review.
I guess.
So that's what I mean, like, if Mel was to bid, then we don't have no bearing on that, if that came through, if Ron was, if Mel was the best bid, the table really had no influence on that, if Ron is the decision maker. I guess that's my real question. Who's the decision maker, although we're ratifying it, it's under Ron's umbrella of expertise?
Mhm.
Okay.
But you can't tell Ron Norby, I told George, as an individual council member, what to do either.
Well, in situations like that, it's gonna come to the table.
I hope so.
Mhm.
Signed it.
Okay, any further discussion? Any objections to the motion? No objections, motion passed 8-0. Construction management recommended contract approval, A&D contracting food distribution office.
Motion to ratify.
Second.
Been motion second, discussion.
So are these the ones that the first contractor fell through, are these jobs?
Mhm.
So, I guess that's the basis of my question, because when I did talk to Ron, he felt that, and I guess I haven't talked to Mel about this, I haven't talked to anybody about this because I've been out of town, but, that I thought that you would be bidding on those, Mel.
Well, only on the fourth one I did.
So I just, I think Mel has been really clear about his intentions and of wanting to continue to do work in our community, and I just want to be supportive of that, and I guess I just want to say, now that I'm here amongst my council, that that Mel continue to be considered, and I wasn't a part of the discussion, and I wasn't here that day, and I apologize for that, but I don't think it's a conflict of interest, and I just want to be on the record saying that. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any objections to the motion? Call for vote, in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 yes, no? Abstention? 2. Motion passed 602. New business, tribal facilities, winter firewood program application. Anyone know anything about this?
There's a format that they put in there.
I see the application.
Yeah, on how they want it. Is that what they want us to adopt, that format?
Yeah. Policy?
Yeah. We'll move it then.
Been a motion, is there a second? Second.
Discussion, just for FYI, Hannah Ben, I just come to the office, before the meeting and said there was a tribal member lived off reservation, they wanting wood. And he didn't specify, cause he didn't know if it was an elder or not. If it's not an elder, there's a process to go to Wildlife and Parks, they fill out an application, they go fill it out with the secretary, and they get a permit. Now, for an elder, that's where he specified here that they must be a member of the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska and live within the physical boundaries of the Winnebago reservation. So I made that point clear, so just so you know. So, call for the question, Mr. Chair.
I have a discussion too. I had gotten some messages from relatives of tribal elders that were having kind of difficulty with getting wood, and so whose assessment is it that no relative to provide firewood or inability to pay to have wood delivered? Like, how is that evaluated? Is it just kind of from the department level, or how? I mean,
Who makes that determination?
yeah, who makes that determination if, you know, the young men relatives aren't able, and or maybe somebody says, gee, so and so could go get that for them, and how do we, is that within the department or the director that within Wildlife and Parks, or within James's management level? I guess I just want to know, because I want to see our elders get their firewood too, but I know sometimes the phone call that the message that I got was that they felt like their needs weren't being met, and so I guess it's good to have this form to make it official, but how do we ensure that everyone is fairly evaluated?
Well, if it isn't unfair, then we'll hear about it.
I took it a step further and asked Shiara if an elder qualified for purchasing wood. You know, they said, yeah, where's energy, whatever,
Assistant?
so they could do that, they could hire somebody.
How far off a reservation do we talk about?
Oh no, it says has to be on the reservation.
I thought there was somebody off the reservation.
That's why he did that. Because, yeah.
So I'm for it. I just want to make sure we're clear on how it gets done.
Jim?
In a program with the Health and Human Services, what do they call it? Heating assistance program, the funds that they receive from the feds and the state, and then those priorities are tribal members that live in the country that have children. They have propane, but also they do for the firewood for them also, and that's kind of why that priority was set, because it had to be on a reservation for the funding sources on probably state and federal. At one time, we were receiving an allocation from City Corps or something like that, but it was funded by the Venezuelan government, but that kind of fell apart because of all the political unrest down there. So they were contributing about $75,000 to the Winnebago tribe. So, but right now, all that we have is what's funded through the Health and Human Services, and then what wildlife and parks can get for the elders that live in the country, and then also what facilities can get.
Any further discussion? Any objections to the motion?
Who's second it?
Melton. No objections, motion passed 8-0. Resolution, agricultural lease bid, allotment, walking priest.
Motion to adopt resolution 19 dash.
Second. 19-34. Just 34. 1934.
Been motion second,
That
discussion?
was for David Gustafson at a rate of $46,280 per year.
How much?
$46,280 per year.
Any further discussion? Any objections to the motion? No objections, motion passed. Resolution 19-19A, amended agricultural lease bid allotment 295L-A, John Priest.
Move it, Mr. Chair. Second.
Been motion second. Discussion? Any objections? No objections, motion passed 8-0. Resolution agricultural lease bid allotment T60W Winnebago Tribe. The amount is $6,100 a year for 5 years.
Move it, Mr. Chair.
Is that resolution?
35.
35. 19-35.
In motion, is there a second?
Second.
The motion second, discussion? Any objections? No objections, motion passed 8-0. Old business, committees, Little Priest Tribal College of Trustees, no applicants. Do you know, Tori?
No, I don't know.
What's this one on?
Little Priest.
Who's the applicants?
No applicants.
No applicants.
Motion to re-advertise for the Little Priest Tribal College Board of Trustees.
Second.
And motion second to re-advertise. Discussion? Any objections? No objections, motion passed 8-0. Winnebago Housing and Development Commission, one applicant. went off.
Was that Louis'
Alena,
position that went up?
Alona?
I loan him.
Oh,
Oh,
Maxine, what are you talking about?
Dana, whose position is that? Or is that under our regents?
No.
Where you at?
It's,
Alona.
Winnebago Housing
this is
Development
this.
Commission. What applicant, who is it?
she's the applicant.
Louis and it's Louis and Howard.
motion to appoint Maxine Rice to the Winnebago Housing and Development Commission.
Second.
And motion and second to appoint Maxine Rice to the Winnebago Housing and Development Commission. Discussion? Any objections? Call for vote. Favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No? Abstention?
Abstain.
Motion passed, 701. Alcohol Advisory Board, one applicant.
Motion to approve applicant
Second.
Lloyd Hamilton. Evening.
Been motion second to appoint Lloyd Hamilton to the Alcohol Advisory Board. Discussion? Any objections? No objections, motion passed 800. Enrollment Committee,
Motion to approve Daphne Evans to the Enrollment Committee.
second.
been motion second to appoint Daphne Evans to the Enrollment Committee. Discussion? Any objections?
Who got the second?
I did.
Or we're going too fast?
I just heard two.
Well, we both said it, but I think Curtis said first.
Okay.
Any objections? No objections, motion passed 800. Great Plains Tribal Chairman Association meeting December 14th.
Move it.
Motion that chairman go to that.
Second.
Blizzard or not. You'll be-
Last year had to cancel because of the blizzard. Who was that, motion, Kenny, or was that Tori?
Motion for the chair.
And I seconded.
Hmm?
It's a round trip,
Yeah, it is.
not a one way.
Been a motion and second to allow the chairman to attend the Great Plains Tribal Chairman Association meeting December 14th. Any objections? No objections, motion passed 800. Tribal Council items. Lenora Snake, housing issue.
Yeah, and that's Lorna Snake.
Lorna.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I did that before, too.
Well, I don't know if you guys got to see the papers that I turned in with my request to be here, but I need to get something done about the housing issue with Winnebago housing. I went to court, they won't give me a decision until the moratorium is lifted. So I don't know if I'm evicted yet or not, but, my grandson got taken away a couple of weeks ago because of the business with the house. And they gave me until December 11th to try and get a different place or whatever I can do to get him back. And we've looked all over town, we went to the other housing authorities, and nobody has anything available that's handicapped equipped or accessible. And I don't know what I'm gonna do. The only place we could find was $700 a month, and that's all I get a month, $700. I can't afford that. So So I'm coming to see what can be done about the moratorium, so we can get it lifted and see if there's any way that I can stay in housing. I've taken a drug test that was negative. They had to think about back rent, but that was all taken off. That was all taken off the court case, so I don't know any back rent or anything. The only sticking point is in the lease. There's a paragraph that says that I'm responsible for everybody in my house. And when I court asked Norma, how far does that responsibility go? Because I told my daughters not to be doing that in there, bringing it in there. They promised me they weren't, all the way up until I got the eviction notice. So I didn't know anything was going on. And then she said it had to be absolute. And I don't see how that is possible. I have 6 other people living in my house, and I'm supposed to know 24/7 where they're at and what they're doing in the house. So I don't know. I mean, that's really the only sticking point of why she wants to evict me. So I don't know what I can do about that. But it also says in the Met policy that they can give a waiver for extenuating circumstances. And I asked her if she had given any, and she said no. But I have talked to people in the community, and I know one elderly lady is staying in housing. One younger lady is staying in housing, even though she got tested positive. She said she got a waiver, but she don't want nobody to know because they told her in housing if she tells anybody, then she's getting evicted. So I know they're giving waivers, even though she said she didn't give any. So that's why I'm coming to you to see if we can get the moratorium lifted and get something done about this. Because I only have till the 11th, and then I might lose my grandson for good.
I would need to add to that, with the court appearance, that it was testified to in court by the executive director that she didn't grant any waivers. That's what she said in court. And because we didn't have legal representation, we couldn't even have ability to question that or anything. They told us we didn't need a lawyer to do that. So that's how we ended up presenting ourselves in court and pretty much being knocked out of the water with anything. We didn't know how to prepare for that. So they were being bullied into thinking she said they owed her. You guys know that $14,000 they said she owed. It turns out they were able to take care of that with other court rulings and the method in which that's carried out, because it's very when you're presented with that kind of stuff, you pretty and that's an issue with too, is that we just just get out and that kind of stuff. But I'm gonna say again, the household members that are on her lease, that none of those are drug users that are on her lease.
Yeah, one.
Then there's what's happening now on our border, it's just what's going on here, because instead of rubber bullets and tear gas, this is the method that we're using against our inmates. We need help. She's disabled. This is gonna affect her ability to go to hospital if she has to move outside of our community, outside of our service area, and on $700. That's what you guys put your hand on the Bible and said that you would protect, look out for the vulnerable people. This is I came here twice, 3 times, talking about this. The motion that was made, moratorium until there's a review of that policy. I don't know that that's been done. If there is, the only time we didn't looked at the policy was when it was passed around this table. That's how your tenants are being dealt with. That's not fair. The other thing that happened since she went to court with her grandson, because they cleaned that house. Certain of those rooms were cleaned and others were not. Those ones that were cleaned, they tested them again. Same test, same people conducting the test. When she went to court for her grandson, the judge said she didn't believe that those tests were same people, same test, doing the test. So to me, there's definitely a learning curve in this policy that needs to be addressed, because everybody's not playing off the same playbook. On the policy at the bottom, it refers to state something or other, but it's not referenced by section or anything like that. So who knows where that came from? But we're finding out through the application of this policy and through this actually going to court, there's holes in this thing. And it's really not properly addressing what the problem is, because we still have that problem. But these aren't the users. These are not the ones that's, selling drugs or taking drugs or anything like that. but they're being painted with the same brush. So that's the policy that hasn't been reviewed yet. So I'm asking not to lift that policy yet, but and on the other hand too, foster care, because you know who's got her grandson now? I got him. Because I already have a foster child, my own granddaughter. She has custody of that grandson because of that meth problem. So it's not as if she hasn't been trying to address what's going on as much as she's able to do in the condition that she's in. So I really do think that's unfair, and it does have to be reviewed. It must be reviewed so that people can get help where they need help. And I don't see how, again, how this addresses what that problem is, and we're finding out when we wash those walls, it does take that whatever that degree is that they're looking for down into acceptable levels. The other thing is in her house, she lived in there 15 years. They eventually are gonna have to redo that place anyway. So they're telling her $33,000 they're gonna charge her for that. The thing I'm gonna say there, I know of people, $80,000 was stolen from that same place. You know what they pay back? $25 a month. She makes $700, don't make that, that's what she gets. $700 a month to live on. So there's something not right in this picture, you guys. You put your hand on the Bible and you swore to take care of these people. That's what I'm asking you guys to do. Do what you say you were gonna do. This is not right. Handicapped, disabled, elderly, she's got a girl in college, going to college, trying to, make things better for her. She ain't gonna have a home to come home to at Christmas time. A veteran, he's not a drug user. College student is not a drug user. Grandson is not a she's not a drug user. There has to be some kind of fairness in that, and reviewing policy and making it really applicable and making something that we can use. Even though it's legal, that's what was said to me. Coley Brown said that, well, it's legal, but that don't make it right. Doesn't make it moral, doesn't make it right. You guys have the opportunity to do that and make sure those things are addressed. I bet there's been no communication since that letter came out. Minutes, that's what I used in court too. Moratorium, that's how we brought it to their attention. So there's a learning curve there too, because that wall washing did something to those amounts. Did something to that testing, but she's not accepting of that same test. There's something wrong in that. If it's good here, it should be good there, especially in our court system. It's the same judge that heard her eviction case, same judge that heard the thing with her child custody. And there's no foster homes. It took this long to get that girl into treatment. That's where she's at right now. The one that did that in her home is in treatment. But that ain't helping her out none. $700. $700, you guys. Where is she gonna get in at?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Jim?
Well, I think, yeah, but you tried, senior housing at Ho Chunk Village?
I can't get it, they won't let, anybody live with me, and I'm trying to get my grandson back. I don't want him to get sent out into the foster care system.
Oh yeah, those are just for seniors.
Yeah,
Okay.
they won't let anybody else live with you.
Correct.
I understand that the tribal council made a motion for the moratorium, so my question, I guess, is from there, what did the board of directors do with it when you're talking about, the next step of the communication? And so if the council made that motion, was it for the board to concur with, or was that absolute? I guess, because for me, as I'm listening to these ladies, that's the disconnect between what the table attempted to do to be helpful and what's kind of happening with the tenant. And I know at that time the family had not gone to court, but since then court has happened. So I guess my question would be, what's the resolution with that moratorium in place, and how does that, I guess, be directed to the board or for consideration or concurrence? I don't know if any of the board members had opportunity to talk about that, but that would be my question that would be helpful in next steps for the family here.
The level of contamination is so high that we cannot, in good faith, let that out. Let some kids be in this contaminated area. Should be condemned. I hear the page still fighting the drug dealers still free. But we have to make a stand. If the house is not really not able to have anyone living there, I don't think we'll let it till we clean it up.
If I remember correctly, when that motion was made, a moratorium was put in place pending the review of the policies. And I don't know if the housing board reviewed the policies and made any recommendations, but they attach the policy here. Plain is Exhibit F. And one of the areas that was underlined says the board may, in certain unique circumstances, formally waive some policy requirements on an individual basis. And not knowing all the particulars, I'm making an assumption, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the one that was using drugs in the home is currently in treatment.
Yes.
And it's not a part of her lease, it's not on her lease.
Not
Yeah,
on the
it's not.
lease.
I
Okay.
just let her stay there, but she didn't have no place else to stay.
Okay,
So
so
find someplace else to stay.
and then you also have a grandchild that you're taking care of.
Yes,
It's the son of her.
yeah, that's her son, my daughter's son.
That child has been removed at this time?
Yes. Yeah, he's probably crying every day, he wants to come home. It's the only home he's known since he was born.
I'm not mistreating him either.
Yeah, he's getting taken care of, but he's not home, you know, he's not home with us, but he belongs.
So that's my thing on policy also, when you start doing this to people, cause there's no foster homes. I really wasn't able to do it, but I'm saying them, cause I don't want them in the system, I don't want them in the foster care system off this reservation. I don't want my sister not having health care. That's why I'm here. I'm one of my sisters, she wants to live, she's got a liver and kidney transplant. My other sister, she wants some place to live. They're both elderly, I'm gonna be bringing that up on health care here when I get my chance at the stable, I'm waiting for that. I'm not on your agenda, but I need to speak with you guys on that one. I'm gonna say too, on condemnation, here that one, the other one was demolished, somebody said that they would have to demolish that house. That's the other thing I know about housing, you're gonna keep demolishing the house. That's not gonna happen, because once that house is demolished, that's off your housing stock, you can't replace it. You gotta at least keep that foundation, Mel can attest to that, you gotta at least keep that foundation. And then the cost of that, that's like building a new house, I don't know how much of that they're gonna pay for. So I think there's, something going on there that is, there's even posts on Facebook, tribal council, looking the other way, Walking Dead picture on there again, and he's in this situation. You know, and I said, that doesn't even apply. These guys aren't drug users. It's the one that's not in that household that caused all this, not in the household. Reasonable effort made, because that girl's not on her lease anymore and she took custody of her son. Reasonable effort made to address that problem. She's not a drug user. Reasonable effort being made. So I think there has some consideration is due in the situation because of these different things, and you look at the one that's, we know of, staying in it still in her house, yet elderly person. That's the one elderly person, right? Over here, you got all these people, not drug users. You know what I mean? What's the difference? I don't understand that disparity between this one person, not a drug user, could stay in her home, and, you know, toxicity less. Here we have the ability to wash those walls and things like that, getting in the allowable range, I guess. And all these people don't count for nothing. And they're the child, elderly, veteran, that go down the line on her household. That's who's getting kicked out in the street at Christmas time, in the middle of winter. So I don't know how much, and we start talking about this in the summertime. So I'm just hoping, in all fairness, that it's reviewed and those things are looked at, but rate something, some way, and who's making those decisions? Is it board or is it individual? I don't know who it is. Is it, like I said, the executive said there's no waiver.
I asked them who, and they told me that Norma was the only one that can make that decision. That if I go beg to her to keep my house, she might let me stay.
Now, how fair is that?
I thought they had a board. How come they don't take it to the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry.
I know we've heard from Lisa, and I want to thank Lisa for coming here on your behalf. And you know, I think we're all pretty aware of the situation. And since we've last heard from Lisa, it sounds like court took place. It sounds like steps have been made to get the daughter in treatment and things to do everything they could within their resources to try to keep the family unified. And so I guess the only, point that is that I'm not the expert on, and the point that Louis offered is, it's the board's, perception or opinion based on what tests were done, that it's not safe. And so where do we, reevaluate that or retest that, or how can the council, assert their authority without knowing if we're sending you to a safe home? Because I don't think it's the question or anybody doesn't want you in your home. I think it's the level of safety for you and your grandchildren that is kind of the hanging point. And I want to do what's right, and I want to do what's within the policy and compassion, and I would just kind of want to know, is it safe? You know,
Oh, I tested negative, and I've been living in there.
She took a drug test prior to
The Child Family Services took one of my grandson, but I haven't been able to get the test results back yet. And I guess turned in the results from the drug swabs, and the 2 rooms, the bedroom 2 and the basement, were the 2 rooms that my daughters were staying in. Now they knew this was coming, so they washed their walls, but they didn't tell me or try to wash my walls. But as you can see on that drug test, those 2 rooms are below 1.5, which is the level they want it below. So they said they just used all-purpose cleaner and hot water. So I don't know, they're saying it's not cleanable, but they clean their rooms. Now I would be worried about the vents though, because that's probably how it got all over the whole house. But the walls and stuff are cleanable.
The vents haven't been cleaned in that house since she moved in it, or probably
No.
even before that. Who knows? That's 15 years of dirt in there and stuff, so.
Mr. Chair.
Good.
You know, it's unfortunate this is happening, and we don't wanna displace anybody, you know, especially you, Lorna. I know you, worked with you, developed a rapport with you, you know, and I respect you, you know, and it's unfortunate that this took place in your home without your knowledge. That's not your fault, and other people's fault as well, but it happened, you know. And when this first come about with me, you know, you gotta think these things through. Policy is policy, but you gotta have a contingency when these things arise. Each case is different, like your case, you know. And it's unfortunate that we don't have something open or available where you can go, or someone like you at the you know, in listening to some of that meth training we had, we went up to Dakota Delta Lines or former Marina Inn. It was mentioned about an elderly lady that lived there, and those kids were doing the meth downstairs, and that meth came up, and it crystallized in that vent. You brought that up, and that old lady got sick. They wanted to know why she got sick, so they found out. They did testing, and it tested positive, and above the of the optimum level, and so they took her out of there, and then she got all right. And she, of course, wanted to go home because she thought she was all right. Along in the vents, and it crystallized because the use was going on so long. You know, so you bring up a point that these vents have been cleaned. You know, it travels, it goes up. You know, I don't know if it's inert. You know, I don't know, or if you can smell the stuff. You know, or you know what you're dealing with. But point blank, they said it's just it's hazardous. They're saying.
Yeah,
So,
I understand that. Yeah, that's why.
And that's
trying to
where
find someplace else.
we talked about second-hand policy. You know, second-hand policy. I know the people on the board are probably, they don't want that either. Kick people out. That ain't what they're there for. You know, but these are the things that's really difficult. And we don't want you or the occupants, especially the children, anybody, to live under those conditions. Breathing it, touching it, you know, hand to mouth, these kind of things. So it's very hard, you know, when you're dealing with something like that. I know everybody's trying to do their best. It's a hard decision here, you know. I want for the reasons Lisa brought up, very valid, very true. But I don't know what the answer is at this point, you know. I mean, in terms of it's been tested, there's some contamination in there. Even if it's minimal, it's there.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so I don't know what's in the vents. I don't know what's there.
Yeah, I don't either.
You know, and then I don't know what, like, the board is trying to do what they're supposed to do. So we're not in business to evict anybody. You know, I don't think anybody is, especially a time like this, holiday time, Christmas time. You know, in your condition, it's very hard for you. I know that. I see that. I feel bad for you too. You know, but you do your best every day. Your family, James, you know, they're there for you. I see that. They love you. You know, but I don't know what the answer is. I don't. You know, mine's going so fast. What is the answer here? You know. I know allowing you to live there, but yet is that still the contamination's there? You know, even though you didn't do it, it's there. You know.
Well, how come I can't just get a waiver and get a different housing house?
Well, those are the options of the board. I don't know. You know, I don't know. I don't know if they talked about that, discussed that. If you requested that, I don't know. I don't want to undermine or circumvent anybody. That's why they're there to handle those things. You know.
Well, every time I try and talk to them, they just said that there's nothing I can do. I'm getting evicted. There's nothing I can do about it.
They have never formally come before.
What?
You've never formally come to the board.
Yes, I did. When I first got the eviction notice, yes, I did. Oh, the board, they told me to talk to Norma. That's what they said. It's her decision. That she's the only one that can decide that.
I think you should submit a letter to get on the next meeting and see what happens. And I just hope it ain't too late after that.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get something done by the 11th.
Yeah, I'm not sure when that next meeting is too. I mean, it does need to come before the board, and so they can say yes or no.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do, that's what I asked Norma, but she said it was her decision, so I didn't even need to see the ward.
You didn't ask Norma. You the board. You asked the board chair. Asked Amy.
Don?
Yeah.
Now see if I want to make sure I understand this correctly. Okay, on your request here, you're asking for alternate housing before December 11th for custody of case. That's
Yeah.
your grandchild, right?
Yeah,
Okay, that was your request here.
yeah,
Okay, and then you mentioned the moratorium, you went to court.
yes, I went to court, they won't give me a decision until the moratorium is lifted.
Okay, and when is that court date?
No, I already went, I don't know, they're just waiting for a decision.
Moratorium?
Well, no, when will they make a decision if the moratorium is lifted?
Her decision has been rendered, she'll make it public after the moratorium is lifted, so her protection right now is your moratorium on eviction.
Okay.
Until she's able to find something. So you lift that moratorium, I'm gonna guess because of what happened in court, that she's gonna get evicted. Like I
Okay,
said, we
and,
couldn't have legal representation, we don't, $700, that's what she lives on. Can't afford a lawyer.
okay, in the lease agreement, it says here, the WHDC must afford the resident the opportunity for a pre-eviction hearing in accordance with the grievance procedure.
No, they said I wasn't allowed any of that because of the new meth policy that overrid everything else.
So that stuff we couldn't even bring up in court, because we didn't have an attorney to be our, when we tried to bring something up that was out of the way or whatever, we got laughed at in court by their attorney. We were head back, ha, she says, you know, that's how we're treated down there, like that, so they told us we didn't need an attorney, but clearly we did, because we weren't able to get at some other things, especially like about that waiver. Cause we know that one happened, cause she's still living in her house, but she said they didn't issue any. So I don't know what's going on, really. I really don't, I don't know how to get at that, how to find that out. And that it's up to one individual. And that is executive director, when she first, this happened with her, she's only been living, she's lived there for 15 years, she said. Meth has only been around for 10 years. So there, to me, that's been around for how, geez, since when? World War II? You know? Seems like if you're gonna be making policy and decision like that way, you would know when you put that in policy. You would know what fallout's gonna be when you're referencing things in there. And from what she's saying now, you can clean that, it can be clean. Maybe she needs to get her ducts cleaned in that house. But then again, $700. What you guys are talking about, the bonuses that you're talking about across the river, that's probably what she makes in a month. You get a gut cleaning out of that, you're $200 to $300 for that. So that's the quandary. If she had money, it would be no big thing, I guess, you know, to move somewhere else or whatever. Handicap accessible home that she can afford to live in for her and her family. She's not a drug user, I'll say that again, not a drug user.
I thought that's what housing was for low income people that
Can't afford any place else.
can't afford anything else. I can't afford anything else. I've already looked.
Reading about Indian people, street people and things like that, that's what I'm thinking about this situation. I don't know what else is gonna happen. What can happen?
That, plus I know some of the people that are getting evicted are moving in to another housing unit with their families anyway, they're still gonna be in housing. And that's what I wanna see is how come we can't punish the ones that are doing the drugs? I mean, they're trying to charge me $33,000, how come that, can't put that on my daughters? They're the ones that did it. They're still able-bodied, able to work, they can pay that back. And I already told them they can't live with me anymore, and that's, you know, that's just so I don't lose my home again.
Remember once we said there's not a meth problem in Winnebago or anything like that, I was talking about how this is affecting this particular situation that I believe deserves some reconsideration.
kicked out of their house and they don't do drugs.
Only one trying to be vocal about it, you know, as I said before, I said, nobody wants to bring their dirty laundry to this table on YouTube, Facebook, whatever else, you know, nobody wants to sit here and do that. I just wanna come here and tell you what's going on with that, how come my grandson's taken from his mother, that ain't nothing to be going around shouting around about. The only reason I'm here again, trying to get some kind of consideration for, I think that we need some kind of consideration is due to someone in this particular circumstance. And the more that we kind of find out about it, there's other people, we ain't the only ones like this, we're the only ones talking to you about it. Maybe they're on the side talking to you off around the side. We come to this table face to face, eyeball to eyeball, asking you to do that. I want you to explain how come it can't be like that, how come it's not due consideration. What has to, I mean, she's not a drug user. And then those things can be changed, because like task force, that's one of the things, and this is fallout from that. Find more foster care, find more money to put people in treatment. That's the fallout from this. Maybe some, you know, how many houses do we have vacant now and boarded up? Where's the money, where's the people at to get those ones opened up so they can, you know, there's big, you know, big hold up, we'll say. A big hold up on things, and it's okay to have houses boarded up. And I'm gonna say that again, tribe is not buildings, tribe is people. People, not buildings, not money, people.
Jim?
All right. A year and a half ago, when they reactivated the meth task force and they start having the meetings to try to address this problem, and when the housing came to those meetings, they had a concern about contamination of the units, and from there they developed a policy, you know, to try to save the units that we have in this community from further damage due to meth being you know, absorbed into that dwelling. And so they developed the thing, and then they brought it to the table, and we approved that. And then when they started doing the testing, and then that's when some of the elders that were allowing their relatives to stay in their homes, you know, they started testing positive, even though, you know, they weren't users themselves. And this is a fallout from that, because of those testing levels, and then by a mandatory reporting. You know, that's why we couldn't allow the tribe with the Health and Human Services contract. You cannot allow a child to be in that home, and that's why they were removed. You know, it goes back to mandatory reporting.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay, and so that, but at that same time, you know, for them to start enforcing what was adopted, you know, and then we tried to do that. We adopted them in the summertime, you know. But this, you know, like here it is, middle of winter, or just starting of winter. But we're still faced with this dilemma. You know, like you said, we know you, we watch you grow up, we're related, and all of those things like that. But still, you know, we try to come to some common ground in that. And one of the things is that it's changed over the years, is that you tell your children to do these things, to go out and seek employment and things like that, and get an education. But now it seems like our children, they don't want to work. You know, they take advantage of their elders, they take advantage of their relatives, and they get housing for them. If they do work, they don't provide any assistance to the relatives that are providing homes for them. A lot of our tribal members that get GAA, you know, they use that in the wrong way, where they should be contributing to the home that they stay. So, but still, we're trying to find a common ground, and that we care for one another, you know, and that's why you open your home to your relatives, because that's the way you was raised. There shouldn't be any orphans in our tribe. But our tribal health system right now is there's relatives that are refusing to take those children because of the effects of meth on those children, behavioral or medical. And some of them say, I can't do it. I have children of my own. And I can't devote that full time that is needed to care for my little relatives. So they have to decline. based upon those conditions. But, you know, we're trying to, we got a extension from the Winnebago Housing Development Commission, so that's where we are. You know, you went to court, and I guess we're still discussing it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to refer Lorna Snake to the next available Winnebago Housing and Development Commission meeting for reevaluation and reconsideration under paragraph 1 of the methamphetamine testing and removal policy with rules and procedure that says the board may in certain unique circumstances formally waive some policy requirement on an individual basis. In order to do so, the waiver procedure identified later in this policy must be followed.
I'll second that motion.
Been a motion, and second, discussion?
I just wanna, I guess, make a comment that, you know, we can't just keep going round and round. At some point, you need an answer, and preferably by December 11th. And the body that can make that answer, with respect to the executive director, is the commission. And so I would just like to see that happen. And you guys have already done the homework by, you know, underlining and researching your issue and doing everything you can to find placement for your grandson in the interim. And I just would like to see you guys not be in limbo, and you've been in limbo for several months now, and so I just make that motion so that we can finally resolve this with respect to the commission and with the support of the council.
Can you read this waiver?
Yeah.
Call for the question, Mr.
Nope.
Chair.
Did you have a comment, Lou?
Yeah, you second.
Do.
No, you did already second it, but you wanna read that?
Tori did read part of it. Portion of this policy is under waivers. It says, I'll read it. It says, the policy is intended to apply in all cases. However, where warranted in rare and unique circumstances, a special waiver of a particular requirement can be considered and approved by WHDC's board. Such a waiver may be made only if 1. Board members with personal direct or indirect interests abstain from and are not present for both the board's deliberations and decision. 2. Full and complete public disclosure of a waiver request occurs before, during, and after a vote. 3. A two-thirds favorable vote of all board members is obtained. And 4. The waived policy requirement is not required by federal or tribal law. So get on the agenda there and then make your request.
Is that what you asked about previous waivers too also?
I don't know about,
Because there's people that are still in their homes yet, see, that was my question in court. She says that there's none been given, but we know there's people still in those homes yet. So some process has been done, and those haven't been made public, maybe they're putting it in their office or something, but there's that requirement of it being made public. So where they're applying the policy in certain situations, it's not the whole thing that's being followed. So you pick and choose what part of the policy you're gonna apply, you know what I mean? Or what? Because there's been no public notice that I'm aware of. Of course, we only just got that drink policy in hand when I came to this table last fall. That's the first time I seen it. I'm a tenant also. So how is that actually carried out? It has weird words in there like that. How does that play out on the ground? Because we know there's people that are in their homes yet. That's another, I mean, that has to come from this table direction to your board, that you're appointing board members to, because where is that being made public at? I would like to, because that way we can see how fair and honest it is, how equitable it is, you know? But there's no answers there either. You know, I brought other things to this table about that, but, you know, that doesn't seem to be a great concern, you know? So at least that, how are those waivers carried out? Because we know there's people still in their homes yet. how were those addressed? How were they scored and rated? Because like I said, I think she said got every mark, and not a drug, I'll go through it again. Here's the one that's got her house yet, here's my sister getting kicked out. I don't see how that follows, I'd like to understand it, that's what I'm asking, I don't understand how that's happened.
Yeah, I don't know either, but, let the process begin. You got a couple of board members here, and I believe we have the board chairman back there listening to this, so
I'm aware.
they're aware of it, so hopefully we can come together and do what's best with the situation. All I can say.
Okay. No more discussion. Any objections to the motion? No objections, motion passed 8-0-0. Number 2, Daphne Evans request.
I'll try to stick to my 5 minutes. I want to thank you guys for letting me get up and talk to you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is just what I've been needing. And so right quick, this is just all I'm asking for still, and I just want it to be part of the record that I'm asking for this. Not only for myself, but for other tribal members. I mean, I think what happened here tonight was a prime example of nobody knowing who to go to for what. But beginning on October 15th, I submitted a letter to all of you requesting that you notify the community and the tribal membership of what boards you serve on, what your function is, all of those kinds of things that I had outlined on there. And I promised you I'd be back every 15 days. Well, guess what? I'm back. I've sent you 3 letters and I've not received anything. The first thing that I got was just now from Jim saying who's on what work groups and what tribal council assignments they serve on. And so I think that's a step in the right direction, because Curtis, one time when I visited with Curtis, he showed me the same thing, and I appreciate that. But if we don't know what's going on in those committees and those boards, then we're still going clueless. We just know that you serve on that board. We don't know, what the goals and ambitions are for those boards or anything. So that's what I want to do, is have our community more well informed. Anything that we're gonna have in this community that's going to become a success is going to be because we have community buy-in. That's just like the alcohol and drug program that that was talked about here one meeting ago that I was at. Until we get everybody on the same sheet of music, we're not going to have community buy-in. Nothing can be successful when we're all fighting against each other. And I keep talking about that, I don't like the divisiveness. I don't like all of that, because in my heart of hearts, I believe that every one of you are capable and able and wanting to do the right thing. And I don't like that, 4 of them this way, 4 of them that way. If you guys are working towards the same goal, how could it be wrong? That's all I'm asking for, is let us be part of it too. Your guys' successes are our successes, because we're one people, no matter who likes who. And until we can do that, we're never going to get anywhere. We'll be that old cliche of the crabs in the bucket. When one tries to climb out, everybody else pulls them back. And I'm tired of living that way. We shouldn't be resentful of anybody in our community that's trying to make their own life better. And the one thing that I want to reiterate is that I'd like to see some information coming across. I appreciated what Kenny had to say. I read Jim's article.
there's no reason why we couldn't have something like that as often as the wind comes out from each one of you to say, oh, I'm working on the housing board and this is our goal. Or I'm working at this board and this is what we're wanting to do. So that's all I'm here asking for. I just want it to be part of the record that I'm requesting this for the tribal membership, that you guys start giving us more information. I appreciate your time, and that's all I wanted to.
Thank you, Daphne, and happy birthday, everybody. It's Daphne's birthday.
Thank you.
And so I did get your letter, and it was like on my way out the door, and it was a really a lot of questions, a lot of points in there that I didn't have all the answers to, but I think that speaks to your point that yourself and the membership want answers to some of those questions about the alcohol program in the hospital and what are we doing about this. And for a couple years now, I've brought this to the table and we just haven't formalized it. I know Sharon at the start of the last fiscal year, she even created a form for it, because what I was calling it was an accountability report, and it would satisfy what you're asking for, and where perhaps at the mid-monthly meeting we all submitted our accountability report, because every month the directors have to do a monthly report, and it talks about their activities and what they've done that month, and the council, all in their respective areas of expertise and committees that they serve on, are working on that. We just don't have that vehicle to report that out, or where we do it kind of on the individual basis, and it would be satisfying, I think, to the membership to formalize that through either the accountability report or monthly report or whatever we want to call it. And how I started thinking about it was when I was going on all these trips about the hospital, and I found myself on all these kind of regional, national committees, and I do that trip report, it goes to finance, and nobody ever sees it. And so what's the way, and if I'm not taking the time to write newspaper articles, where's that information going? And I put myself on the agenda, I think, last time, and then I ended up being out sick, but there's some good stuff that I really want to share with the council, and it can be done, you know, briefly, but at the high points, at the last 12 Clans Board of Directors meeting, I got to share a little bit about what the tribe's doing to contribute to the CMS work requirement and community engagement discussions. And the membership should know that kind of stuff, you know, just to know that the tribe's on it. And so I appreciate your letter, and I did want to respond to you, but now you're here, so I can, you know, make these points in person. And I would be in support of either taking that form that Sharon drafted and looking at it, and it kind of like is the kind of encouragement we need to document our work, because one of the things that I thought about during the last presidential transition is that all these federal agency committees were doing they call them briefing papers, and so what they were doing is the team going out was meeting with the team coming in, and so it made me think about our committee work and what happens when, say, Vincent's not here anymore, but all that stuff he was working on with food sovereignty or for nursing home, like where'd that all go, you know, because now he wasn't able to do the handoff, or with tax commission, and so if we don't have that kind of formalized process, there's no paper trail for all the good work that is being done on behalf of the membership. So I would like to see, maybe it's not the form that Sharon created, maybe Esther has better ideas that would suit our goal, but maybe it's time, you know, we've talked about it and we just need to put some action behind it, and then it would give every council member opportunity for, you know, their 5 minutes at the mid-monthly meeting, maybe to say, this is what I'm working on, this is the rundown, you know, thank you for your time, and it also puts kind of like, you know, lights a little fire too for us to follow up on our committee work, because sometimes, you know, we might get too busy to attend that committee meeting, or we got another meeting going on, but there's always minutes and notes taken, and then at least we could be a part of that. And so it's a good thing, you know, it's it can only help us better communicate, and I know that's what we always hear about, is that we're not communicating enough, so there's always room for improvement, and I'd like to do a better job myself in sharing what my trips accomplished, and so thank you.
Well, Daphne, thanks for sharing your birthday with us.
You bet. I
And
wouldn't be
one of the-
anyplace else.
About 2 years ago, there was a discussion, I don't recall if it was around the table or in our offices. But we talked about, the committees and boards that each one of us are on. And the idea of getting, what you're just asking for, getting that information out. And there was a, suggestion that was made that, most of the committees and boards, they take minutes. And having those minutes either placed on our website or in the Winnebago Indian News. You know, same as what we do here. And I think maybe we can revisit that and possibly make it a policy that when there are meetings and there are minutes taken, that is shared with our communication officer, and then he in turn can put it on our website and share it with Winnebago Indian News. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. But Tori was going right to the heart of what I, was hoping would happen, is that you guys aren't having to reinvent the wheel every time. When the next, if you make it back on, great, then you're gonna carry on with what you were doing before. But if you don't make it back on, what does happen to that work? So along with informing us, at least you'd be leaving a roadmap for someone else to follow. So, like I said, I appreciate your time, and that's all I really ever wanted, was to get the information out there so that the community can buy into that. So I want to thank you for your time.
10 minutes.
Oh, darn it.
Okay. No action on this.
Did you write that motion down,
Yeah.
Next is Robert Decora, Riva Decora, request rehire at Winnebago. I left my water somewhere. Let me find it. Is that even?
It's left in the bathroom.
Is it?
Yeah. He did.
I know, I put it down somewhere.
We've taken a drink of it.
There's one in the, fill it up for you.
Stall.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, Reba.
Good evening.
I think it was like in, my request, is for, my son Robert Core to be rehired at Winnebago. He had an altercation there in 2015, with another employee, and they both got turned. The young Maipate man came up into my son's face. He's been known as he was known as a troublemaker. And I was wishing one of the ladies were here, because she worked out there. She got fired because of it too, but, he just came right up to my son's face, and, my boys kind of pushed him back and they did it and found out. But anyway, they told him that he couldn't be rehired for life. He was banned for life. And, that kind of carried away, but he kind of went on, and, he got, hired at different places, like Curly's and Turpac and Cloverleaf, but those jobs are just, and it was hard on me because I would have to drive him back and forth, like sometimes going up at midnight or going up early in the morning at 6 and getting camp, blah, blah, blah. And we're just requesting that, we wrote a letter to Maya, and sick tonight of all nights. He's got really bad strep throat and in bed. Trying to drink some soup. So that's why I'm here on his behalf.
Okay, fine.
Well, Reva, thanks for being here on your son's behalf, and thank you, LaDonna, for supporting her. And I guess I can always appreciate a tribal member that wants to work, and I don't know if the council isn't the licensing body, so I would like to make a motion to refer Wilbur Decor's situation with supporting documentation to his program requirement, the programs that he's successfully completed for license reconsideration, because the gaming commission is the licensing body, and so it would be within their authority that would comply with our gaming.
They have management in the gaming commission. Gaming commission issues the license. Management is the one that terms the employees on policy violations. The gaming commission has nothing to do with it.
So is it the issue that he can't get a license, or what's the issue?
Can't be rehired.
Yeah, right at HR stops right there. Because there's people that have been rehired that are on that no rehire list for sure.
I put both articles in all of you guys' mailbox. His letter of contrition, I guess is what you want to call it. He realized his error. He took the treatment necessary to try to get in good standing again. And then also included in that letter, Mayan's letter to all of us to say that's not a rehire situation. But he says only the council can decide whether to do that or not. If they want to set a precedent, it's up to them. But they have all these job fairs, and I agree, they have all these job fairs and everything for people to come to work. And then when you start banning them for life, left and right, you're not going to have anybody to choose from anymore. Everybody, hey, I've been fired 4 times in my life. I'm still around because I had a chance 4 times.
Coley, can a person be licensed with a simple assault? Is that what you said? It was a simple assault? Is that licensable?
Yes.
I don't think there were any charges. From what I understand, there was no charges filed. It was just a personnel action. That's all it was.
Mayan said in his letter that that guy was hospitalized. I don't know about that. No, he's still working out there, huh?
No.
That other guy isn't working out there either? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought that was the biggest concern. Hey, he's
Yes.
still out there. Why can't my son get it? But still, I think we should.
I think,
Tori, you want to retract your motion, please?
Yeah, I'll withdraw my motion.
Mr. Chairman, for us to, maybe they could review that policy as far as on some of the drug policies or violations. There's a requirement there if you're picked up on a drug violation, random or something like that, then you either go through EAP or you either self-terminate. But that policy, what's in there is that you can be hired within a year, or if you go to treatment and come back with that paper. And then like we have when the compact was first initiated back in 1993, felons, I think, and guys that were coming out of penal institutions were allowed hiring within 10 years. And when that compact came up for negotiation, then it got it down to 5. So that's where it is now. But still, we do have that opportunity, and that's what we're doing, is trying to create opportunities. And we always ask the HR department when they do terminate them to say, well, can I be rehired? Or give them a letter, say, if you do these things, then you could be rehired. Maybe we could look at that, because like I said, if we've had felons employed or a thing, then a simple assault, I know there is a zero tolerance of violence in the workplace, and that's what that fell under. But for to banish them for life, we always want to say, give them an opportunity to work, and maybe this time, this is the time they're gonna be there. They're gonna be there every day, and be a good employee. 10, 15 years, all of these ones that have their, how long they've been employed over there. He's doing a good employee for a year that he satisfied those probationary periods and things like that. So maybe we could have them look over that policy. Maybe you can either modify it or change it.
I would support that, Jim. That's why this casino is there for our people to work. He's a young man. He's a good man. He's just one that ain't gonna take no stuff, from anybody. And it takes two to tango, I feel that the young man went through all these things already, and he tried, he attempted, to make himself better. Obviously he wants to work. It's too bad it happened, but apparently there's no, at this point, no record of any charges. We all make mistakes, but I'd like to see them revisit that as well. And that's how I feel about it.
Let's don't micromanage, let's let Maya make
Yeah.
that decision.
Yep.
Well, I'm in agreement with all of you. This man has put forth a great effort to make changes. It's documented that he's went through all of these programs to better his own self. He's in the letter I have read, he was pretty contrite, and I felt that he was very sincere. And you have to give a person a chance to redeem themselves. And we can't condemn them because just like what Jim was saying, it just might be the one time that he does it, and that's what we all want. So I'm in agreement that perhaps they can review that policy and then make those changes. So I would be open to that as well.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, Mr. Chairman. There's good micromanaging and there's bad. And this is one of the times you kind of have to step in there and give them a second chance, for sure.
I think you guys all know my nephew Wilbur. He's a big guy. He wanted to really hurt that guy. He could have.
It's just a big teddy bear.
Yeah. But he has, we've all been there. He's looking to turn his life around now. He's completed these things on his own. And he didn't need to be court ordered for these things. He did them voluntarily. And not just because he's my nephew, and he's got a green card. He's always respectful to me. And there's so much more goodness in him than this one incident. And I know you guys are in agreement with this, so I wonder if it could be noted, documented in some way that council is in favor of these, how long has it been since he's?
Well, I think we'll make a motion to have Maya deal with the issue. I think that's almost 100% better. Back on it. I'm sure we'll be a better person because of it. But I don't wanna-
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Huh?
Mine said for us to come here.
By us telling him he can make that decision, that allows him to, he said he'd be willing to do it, depending on what the council said.
Well, that's why we need documentation from the council, because didn't Ryan also say that he's never known to hire somebody rehire after they've been banned?
Yeah, he said that in his letter.
So if you guys
But the
don't.
end of his letter said that he would do what the
they're asking for documentation of the council's opinions.
Well, you know, if, some of us, we go over to Winnebago periodically,
I go there every now and then.
every now and then. But if we look at the staff, you know, we have quite a few non-Indians working there, and we have quite a few non-tribal people working there. And what Curtis said, you know, that the purpose of the casino was to employ our people, to give them an opportunity to earn an income, to be self-sufficient. And you know, I think that we've got to go back, you know, to that train of thought, is that we have to be supportive of our people.
Comment?
We've got just opening the door for road work, opening doors for other people. And we have lost it, jobs.
Jim?
Yeah, we got on the council in 1999, the employment of all natives at Winnebago was 19%. But now here it is with all natives and all Ho-Chunk, it's like 20%, and we're at 48% of native hires at Winnebago. So that's an improvement. You know, we have some tribal members that are, you know, management positions also.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion authorizing the chairman to meet with the general manager, authorizing review and consideration of this case.
I'll second that.
Been a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah. Same one. Won't take long.
Okay.
Thank you, Reba.
Mr. Chairman, Frank, good to see you this evening and all of you members of the council. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh.
I know Kenny did because I haven't seen him until now. You know, I don't think the tribal council would be micromanaging in this issue. You would only be advising, what's his name, man, as to what's going on as a rehire. So I just wanted to get up and say, if it's a rehire, then which is a good thing, because whoever is going to get rehired wants to go back to work and make good. So what I want to say or ask the council is, does this open the road for others if they want to go back to work regardless of what they were let go for? Yes? Okay. I wanted to ask that. That was a serious question on my part that I would ask the council. So therefore, again, I say, you know, I don't think it would be micromanaging. And I would look into Maine to see if he wasn't in on what was going on, because they have a board of directors too. Right?
No.
No? Okay. So then everything would go to him, regardless. I hope I said what I wanted to say, so I think you all understand.
Yeah.
I think, you know, if you decide this, then it would be a good decision. Because I think there's others that want to rehire or go back to work and do good for our casino. And I know that it does need repair because Gene and I go quite a bit. especially on senior day. I would like to ask to, if you drop $50 a day, 50 more on it. Could you talk
We
it
do it
over?
twice a month.
That'd be $100, $200 for Jeannie and I. I'm only speaking for us. And all the other elders. Okay, I
Nice,
just
nice.
wanted to say that, and a little humor didn't hurt nobody, so. Okay.
That ain't humor, you were serious. Call for the
Been a motion and a second. All in favor? Any objections? Throw you guys off. No objections, motion passed 8-0-0. Okay, we'll take care of it, Reva.
All right, thank you very much, all of you.
Reva,
Yes.
tomorrow morning, can you contact Teresa so I can get a callback number for you? Once I find out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have her number?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 4, Roger White Bear, assistance request.
Say good evening to you guys, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity to ask for requests for emergency assistance because my daughter's having heart surgery down in Omaha on the 6th. I've already taken her down there 3 times within the last month there. We're going to be down there for 3 days because they said after it's done she'll need to be in there for a couple days, kind of heal up, I guess, a little before they let her out and watch her and stuff. But I fell into a couple little roadblocks there and kind of like I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to get help anywhere else, so that's why I come to you guys to ask you guys for that help.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question. Hi, Roger. If there wasn't a moratorium on adding other Indian blood, would your daughter be able to be enrolled in Winnebago?
My daughter Ronita White Bear is enrolled, and that's my middle child. She's the only one that's enrolled because I was on the birth certificate, but my 2 older ones I was not on the birth certificate. By the time I got it tracked down and paid for it, you guys had changed that blood quantum. So to your question is yes, and I haven't got them enrolled anywhere else. I'm just waiting. Talked to Jim, and he said that you guys would probably be working on that, or it's been discussed. So that's what I'm waiting for, is the opportunity to get my other children enrolled as well.
So, Mr. Chairman and Council, Roger's situation and many of the child welfare circumstances that have come to the table over the past several years since that moratorium has been in place is kind of what I'm talking about. These are Winnebago kids that belong to Winnebago families that, that would benefit from lifting that moratorium. And I know the enrollment committee is still working through that, and but I guess these kids live here, born and raised here, belong to Winnebago grandfather or Chopra and father, and I just it's tough to see them in these circumstances. And then, but we do have to have these rules in place that put some type of parameters like for that assistance. But if that moratorium wasn't in place, and the children with the same mother and father, one of them's enrolled, I just think it's fitting that under special circumstances, they're finding themselves with heart surgery, and that we could help them out. But I guess there's, a couple different issues. Right now the problem in front of us is that they need help to go to Omaha to be there for their daughter. And then the larger issue is the moratorium that we have in place that I'd really like to see us take care of as soon as possible. And so I would be in support. I guess I want to make a motion to approve Roger Whitebear's request for assistance under special circumstances.
$250.
Yes.
Good motion. Is there a second?
Is that our general fund?
Yes, sir, out of the general.
Second.
No second.
Who?
Mr. Frenchman.
Or Louis.
Okay. Who, Chairman? Louis?
Who seconded?
Louis.
Okay, Mel.
One motion in 2 seconds.
Oh, okay, all right.
Let's get that right.
Well, let me second it too.
Yeah, three seconds.
Three.
Okay, there's been a motion, second, to provide emergency assistance. Any
250.
further discussion? Any objections? No objections, the motion passed 8-0. Roger, come in and see Teresa in the morning.
Okay.
And then get this thing processed.
Roger.
Thank you, guys.
And then, if you go contact, what's that, Robbie Lamaster at the hospital social worker. Sometimes she'll call the hospital down there, Children's Hospital, where she's
Yeah,
going,
Children's.
and then they can help with maybe find you discounted rates with some of them places around there.
Okay.
And then sometimes they have a kind of like a
What is it? Robbie's name? Social worker
She's
over there?
Yeah.
the only social worker over there.
Okay.
Robbie Lamaster. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You got transportation because they do provide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Number 5, Alethea Bass, loan request.
Good evening. I'm sure you guys all got a copy of my request. It was more so the land sale part of it. I've been going back and forth with the BIA. Them guys over here say these guys over here, you know, you guys, no one wants to name names over here, no one wants to name names over there. I was hoping it didn't have to go this far where I had to come in front of you guys. But they say, the money's there, all it needs to be is drawn down. Every time I've called and asked about it, it's being tabled, or it'll be at the next meeting, then the next meeting comes, and then it's at the next meeting. So I was just told it'd be better off if I got on the agenda and brought it to you guys myself. Out there, they're telling me that they're waiting on the tribal council, then all they needed was a resolution so they can get, you know, send for the deeds and everything. They said they're told to have, keep a running list of people who are trying to sell their land, or, you know, to do it. And I don't know why it even had to go to the BIA. I don't know the situation or whatever, because the way I read it when I did the first COBEL thing was we'd have a round 2 coming. You know, that it'd come around again, so we'd have a second chance to do it. So I held off on selling some of mine, you know, for the second round to come around, but it never came. So then I found out we had to go, you know, through the BIA, do all this paperwork and everything, and now I was just, you know, wondering where we're at with it and why it's taking so long to get it processed. And I mean, it comes to the council, then they table it, then they say they blame the BIA people. BIA, you know, they have all their ducks in a row. All they're waiting for is the okay or the resolution from the tribal council so they can move forward with it. They said there's like maybe 10 or 11 of us on the list that are waiting, you know, for this to happen.
Okay. I don't think anybody's blaming either party.
I don't mean to say blame, but
Right.
you know, it's
But,
getting bounced back and forth.
yeah, well, we've had this discussion with the BIA. What we've been waiting on is the Indian Land Consolidation Act funds.
Mm-hmm.
The tribe had that at one time, and then the Bureau pulled it back. Okay, we still have it available, but they can't get the money released. So we've been waiting on that. There's we were going to use those funds to purchase, you know, the land that people wanted to sell. So the money's there, but right now it's not accessible. And until the time comes when they'll release the money, you know, everything's on hold. That's why we asked the Bureau to, you know, keep a list of everyone that is wanting to sell their property.
And then that's all I'm told is all they're waiting on is the resolution from the tribal council so they can move forward with the process.
Okay.
That the funds are available and all they have to do is see it, so I don't understand what the hold up is or what's going on with that. He says they're not available. They're saying they're available, they're just waiting on tribal council for the resolution so they can move forward with it. So they can send for the deeds, you know, for everything to be finalized.
The funds are there. The funds are there, but they're not accessible today. Until it's released by the BIA.
And they're telling me that they are available, they just have to be drawn down.
No, we haven't done it yet. I have the assistant controller contacting them every other week to find out what the status is. And we started this a year and a half ago to get the status of that particular funds. And we've been doing it, you know, every other week, getting the status on it. And what is her name? Eileen McBride.
Mm-hmm. I got the number.
Yeah.
Our current number is the current number is $1,532,064.93. And so the issue isn't a council or our local BIA. It's a higher level from the Department of Interior that these funds haven't been released. So the money just kind of like keeps adding up, but the sole purpose of them are to buy land.
Right. So I don't understand. They said if the council made a resolution, what would that? I mean, and it keeps getting tabled. So how come it doesn't come when you guys meet with them? Why is this portion of it only being tabled and not being addressed then?
So I would think Letha, and I've talked to Letha on the phone through Messenger, and I know she's been having hardships, and one of the things, and so I guess two things that I see is we do know in fact that this money is tied up within the interior, and it's not just our tribe, all tribes that are, and so if maybe the BIA is saying, our BIA representatives are saying, if the council would pass a resolution, that would kind of just be like a push from our tribe saying, hey, we have great need and we want this to be expedited. So that's kind of my understanding when they're saying all it would take is a resolution, but that's not all it would take, but that would be us kind of asserting ourselves as a council to say we would like your support in releasing those funds. But the other issue I know in the midst of that Department of Interior kind of hold was that you wanted a loan, and so then that's the next issue where as they have that tally of tribal members who are kind of wanting some of the same asks that you have, and it's a large chunk of money. That's where I don't know our capacity to fulfill such a large request, or what would be the remedy for that, because I know you'd gone through credit and other avenues that you weren't able to be successful. So to me that's kind of where we land today. Is we're all aware of the issue within the Department of Interior, but just to be, I guess, clear, when they're saying ask for a resolution, it would just be to kind of like push the envelope, or however they say. So then the next, I guess, thing is the council's, or not the council, the tribe's capacity to meet your other request on, what could be done, in part, and that I don't know, and I would kind of call on Roland to make recommendations, because I don't want to speak out of turn on what the tribe is able to do to meet some of those special requests. And then the next thing would be that what capacity do we have to meet further requests that would come in, once those kind of started being honored. So, but so
yeah, more or less not alone. I mean, coming off, eventually it's going to get
right.
And sold, so, yeah.
So it would be like a advance of some sort.
Yeah.
So that's just my comment, and I want to help Letha, but I don't know the answer on what can be accommodated.
Any other comments?
I think At the time they brought those land sale requests in, I think we deferred until the release of the ILCA money, but maybe we did, if we had resolution supporting, then you'd have that justification for releasing it, you know, based upon, we were gonna pay these, tribal members land sales, you know, and we have everything ready to go. And then also put the word out, through social media and publications to the tribal members in the country that we're gonna have some funds available for those that wanna, you know, sell their land back to the tribe, and that's, you know, specific for the use of the ILCA funds is for to purchase tribal lands. But you maybe again could have the chairman go out to, you know, double check on that. You know, like you said, you're calling every other week. So we can put that on that land, bring those ones back in here, maybe we just do the resolutions, you know, just in that for approving those land sales, and then just know that they'll be released when that ILCA funds come in. At one time, the credit program had utilized the long-term credit monies to some of the tribal members to purchase the interest of their relatives' land holdings. But you know that long-term credit fund was depleted when you got the FEMA trailers.
Mr. Chairman, I want to add, kind of what we was talking about earlier, what Roland brought up at the beginning of the meeting about what are we going to do with our portfolio, what we need to do, what's supposed to be done with that money. And we know we've been talking about an expansion to increase our revenue. Every day people come here and need help, and we have $0 to help. Some stuff just don't go away. You know, that's a fact. And I just want to say that. That's what we need to consider. When you're here every day, these people come here and they need help for different reasons. Isn't there lease money? Don't we have lease money? You know, I don't know.
No, we have lease income, but I wouldn't know what the amount is.
We don't know what the amount is.
But we have, as mentioned, there was 11 to 12 heirs or allottees that want to sell their property. And if we don't have the money, you know, to provide assistance for the requester, then and if we do provide something, what are we going to do with the other 11? I'm sure that, you know, they'll come in and ask for the same thing. You don't have the money, period. Until that ILCA money is released, you know, we just don't have the money to purchase any land.
Oh, I'm not requesting the whole thing, just a partial, something to get me through. The holidays are coming, I don't, you know, I'm still not working. I understand that all the money's not available right now, you know, but, and it's not like a loan coming out of everyone's own pocket. I mean, it, you know, once it does go through, it's coming right off the top of, you know, what I would be getting.
Any further discussion?
I got a question. What's the land company's holdings, and there was money in those bank accounts, and that money was meant to purchase land, and when business ceased in that area, what was the intent of those funds that were in the bank? It was over $1 million. So that would be my next question. If the ILCA money is unavailable, then what about the holdings that the land company had? And would it be under the direction of the sitting board to approve that? Whether it be in part or, you know, whatever. And then whoever would come up next, then it would also, you know, direct them to that board. That's their role. That's another solution, you know, just trying to think out loud here.
Is that still in the, in Liberty? It was a little over $1 million.
Should be.
Yeah. So that's a good option.
Leave that up to the treasurer to handle that.
Treasurer-
Look into that. I
Treasurer-
don't have an answer
Treasurer and CFO.
for you by tomorrow on that question.
So then it would require, if the
And-
bylaws is as such, it would require that board of directors to make that motion and for the tribal council to accept that motion for that drawdown to happen.
Mhm.
So that's another path, and there's money in that account.
For the, just for my loan request
Well,
part of
that,
it, or not
that,
loan?
the intent of that money, you know, under that board of directors was to purchase land,
Right.
purchase
Oh, I
back
see what- okay.
reservation land, and so that's separate from the ILCA money. And so if that board of directors, elected to do so, they could purchase maybe one of your tracks and give you, you know,
Right.
I just,
That makes sense.
it's a path forward. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's the right
That's a
path.
good option.
And I'm not on that board of directors to, you know, but I'm just trying to make a suggestion for a positive outcome and to try to meet you halfway in some way.
Okay, we've got that meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
When today? Can you contact the treasurer and he'll get with the CFO probably Wednesday. We have a meeting tomorrow all day in Sioux City, so all of us are gonna be up there. But try and contact him Wednesday, then he'll get an answer for you and see what the best options are.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Thank you guys.
okay, thanks.
Okay, no other items on the agenda. Chair will entertain a motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
approve,
I'd
Mr.
like to
Chairman.
speak, please. I have something regarding healthcare.
Okay, we had the approved agenda and we're trying to stick to the agenda. So,
So get on your agenda for a matter of life and death, is that what you're telling me?
I don't know if it's life or death.
That's what I'm telling you. I can get on your agenda. I'll do the paperwork and I'll be back.
Okay. Okay, Chair, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
discussion, objections? No objections, we're adjourned at 7:20 PM.